Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this special edition of ThreatGEN Red versus Blue. We're doing a 2022 retrospective, not just for 2022, but pretty much for just the history of Red versus Blue. We'll be joined by, and by the way, I'm your host and co-host, Clint Bodungen, and we'll be joined by one of the co-founders and my co-developer for Red versus Blue, Aaron Shbeeb. We'll take your questions, be kind of an AMA. So we'll see you in a bit. Hey, and here we are, this nice fireside chat. I believe this is the first time anybody has ever publicly seen you on Karen. I mean, on Karen. Wait, whoa, Freudian slip there. On camera, Aaron.
Yes.
This is gonna be a fun chat. So welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I normally keep my camera covered for security purposes, just in case somebody decides to hack my machine, but we'll trust that doesn't happen today.
Yeah, well, so let's get everybody. I think we've got some people starting to come into chat here. And want to just welcome everybody. And if you're in chat, say hi so we can see who you are. And this is an AMA or an Ask Me Anything. Now you can ask me anything, doesn't mean I'll answer everything, but but this is going to be kind of a fun while we get people in here. I think one of the fun things about this is hey, Alex, and we got Alex Goodwin, and he's one of our beta testers, and areas calling me Hat Man. He named me Hat Man. I don't know why. But so this is just going to be a casual fireside chat. As you can see, we have our fireplace going. Oh wait, we got to get here we go. There we go. We got our cool lounge music going. And just so everybody knows, hey, InfoSec Live there, which is Simon Lindsted's organization and his community there. And what we're going to be doing here, hey, Richard, how you doing? This is an AMA and kind of a retrospective on Red versus Blue, our development, our game, our history. We'll give everybody maybe a little bit of a fun behind the scenes look at some of our old school pictures that we have. Got to get my screen share going somehow, but we'll take a look at some of the old images and the design process we went through, some of the fun stories that we had, and again, ask, we're gonna have people ask questions. What's Alex says Hatman left mole struck. He speaks struck. Oh, mullet struck. I'm not sure what that means. All right, so I was talking to Simon this morning, and I said, all the Brits, and when Simon's not Brit, but there's different versions of English, right? And nobody really understood that they were all speaking incorrectly until 1776. But so we'll be bringing in several guests as we go along. So a lot of different people that have helped us along the way and that have been instrumental in ThreatGEN's growth and in our journey. So anyway, so Aaron, you and I have and hello Lily, you and I have been working together and actually hitting each other in the face for quite a long time. And yeah. I think I've known you in my base of colleagues, right? I think I've known you longer than I've known anybody other than my wife. Like, I mean, other than family. I think I literally met you like probably 7 months after I married my wife or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So that for those of you that don't know, Aaron and I met at a martial arts dojo, and I mean, I think literally probably days after we met, we started. It was a barbecue at the martial arts dojo, and I joined, and they ended up fighting each other, and he kicked my butt, and then and then we've had this partnership ever since, and so I think, and then we kind of established a dojo together, but we've worked together effectively. I think we've actually worked together. Hey, Carrie, how you doing? I think we've worked together since about 2008, right? In my first failed venture.
Yeah.
Around then.
Started right before the economy collapsed, and so the timing was just amazing.
Yeah, I think that I have I'm going to go ahead and say that all these recessions are probably our fault, because I started my company, CIDG, way back then, and then I hired you, and then the recession of 2008 happened, and then we got this company going and all that stuff like that, and now there's another recession. So I'm pretty. And was there another recession anytime around 2017 at all? Because that's really when ThreatGEN was founded.
I don't think so. Nothing as newsworthy as like a lockdown pandemic hit.
Well, actually, okay, here it is. So we left our jobs and officially started doing ThreatGEN full time in 2019.
Yeah.
And the pandemic started in 2019. Yeah. So that's it. We are responsible for all of this. Yeah, exactly, Alex. So once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, third time is our fault. Yeah. So yeah, 2000.
Let's just make this one a success, so we don't have to start any more businesses.
Yeah. So we caused the 2008 recession. We caused the 2019 pandemic with officially starting ThreatGEN, and we caused this recession here with our kind of our current everything was working and doing really well, and we're progressing and trending upward, and then all of a sudden, the recession. So yeah. I'm pretty sure it's our fault. So let's hey Frank, how are you doing? And so I'm glad we got a lot of viewers in here. So thanks everybody for joining us for this. Yes. Let's go ahead and I want to tell everybody the story. What's that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll say let's start with the story before we get into questions.
Yeah. So hi Elena. So here's the story of kind of how Red versus Blue started. Let's go way back before that. So Aaron and I were working together at another company, because that's what we do. We work together. I drug after CIDG failed. I eventually drug him over to Cymation, and Cymation was an industrial cybersecurity company, and eventually was acquired by Accenture. And so, we had a dream team over there of ICS cybersecurity professionals at Cymation. A lot of people, like names in the industry, so our dream, we had a real dream team. We had Mark Ayala, Dylan Beresford, Brian Mikesell, Eric Forner, Tony Gore,
Scott Wimberly.
Yep, Scott Wimberly. Oh man, Scott, former Green Beret, and then we had Tony Gore, Emmett. I almost said Emmett Smith. Sorry, Cowboys fan in me. Emmett Moore. Sorry, Emmett. And so we did a lot of stuff. We were part of the technology and development team there, and so we were doing training. We were trying to find better ways to create industrial cybersecurity training with better feedback, and so we kind of it happened for me when I was playing Grand Theft Auto, and we're shooting up an electric utility substation, and I was like, why couldn't we do that? Why can't we make a game that gives us this feedback? And so I went into the office the next day and I started talking to Aaron about it. And I didn't know anything about game development, and Aaron pretended he didn't. And he's the one that you I remember you came into my office one day, and then we started, because I started with Pygame, Python gaming engine, and was developing all these little things. And then you told me about Unreal Engine and Unity, and then the kicker was, I don't know how long we were talking, when finally one day you said, my brother is getting his PhD in game design at Central Florida. And I'm like, and how long have we been talking about this? And you dropped this nugget on me.
Yeah.
So my
Nice.
question to you is how I mean, how much game development knowledge did you have at that point? Or was your brother, I mean, just
At that point, probably not a lot. You know, just it was mainly just like conversations I had had with him, and so I was had like the very like, you know, surface level kind of like across the board of like, yeah, like here's some stuff you should think about. Here are some tools that are, you know, available in the industry. I think shortly after that, he actually for Christmas, I think it was like he gave me uh, you know, like learn Unity in 24 hours and like an Xbox 360 controller. He's like, this is what I you know, have my students get in the game design course. So like, if you take this, like, you should get you on the right path. And then that sent me down. And here I am. You know, I can use
so
Unity every day.
were you interested in game design at that point? Or were you just
I
starting?
mean, if you go like way back, like you know, I'd always loved games and I wanted to get into it. And I remember, you know, back when I lived in Ohio, I was going into a bookstore in the mall, and I saw this big, thick book on game development. I was like, oh, like that sounds cool. Like I was just getting into programming, and I opened it up and I look at it. It was all assembly language. And I said, nope, not for me. Not going to happen. And so I just wrote it off for a long time, and then years later, you know, along come these, you know, free game engines where they handle all that low level stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is actually attainable now. So you know, that, you know, I guess reignited the desire for game development. I'd always wanted to do it, but I had written it off because I was like, I'm not doing it.
It's so funny. We have it's so funny. We have a very similar story there. That's exactly what happened to me. I remember, shoot, I don't remember because I've wanted to. I remember working out and literally driving a tractor, working out in the field with my dad. My dad was a farmer, and my brother would ride with me. And I think I started, you know, child labor laws are probably, you know, not effective back then, but I mean, I started driving a tractor like 11, 12 years old. And I remember, but hanging out with my brother in the tractor, and I just started learning to program. That's when I started. And so go ahead, tell me. There's no excuse for me to be such a crappy programmer like I am. I started way back then. But so I used to dream about what kind of games I was going to develop back then. But similar story to yours. I walked into a B Dalton's or at the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw a big book just like you did on game programming, and I saw everything. I was like, oh, nope, I'm out. And yeah, and I really never even thought about it again until that day you and I were talking about it. And I know that we have a question here. We did have a question here. You know, what's a good way to get started in cybersecurity career with a home lab? You know what? I'll answer that in a minute because that's a good question for what we're doing because how our careers are here. You know, so we are kind of at the beginning of our conversation here, so you know that's a good way to start. I'll answer that because you know, I was in cybersecurity before I was in game development. That's why we do what we do. I know for myself, the way that I got in was a little different, but I think that the way you start getting into a cybersecurity career is essentially the same now as it was back then. The tools though are different, right? So with a home lab, I would say don't even. All right, contrary to some cybersecurity professionals' beliefs, in that they feel like you don't need IT and cyber are separate. And I grew up, IT and cyber were the same. You had to know some IT knowledge to get into cybersecurity. Now it's just called cyber. But so you know, I would start with the first thing you should probably do is to help you with your home lab and where to get there. The first, I would recommend going with like Security Plus. Just at least read the books on Security Plus certification to get that baseline knowledge. Maybe some CISSP books. You don't have to worry about the certifications right now. Just read the books, and that'll give you a good idea on what labs to build. But I mean, you could probably build like a lab in Azure or AWS cheaper than what you can build a home lab for, right?
Yep.
But I would say, get you a Kali Linux box, read your certification books to learn what, like your network plus books and things like that. And then go on eBay to start buying equipment on eBay if you want to do it at home and stuff like that. Raspberry Pi, those kind of things, Linux boxes. I mean, but this is probably a longer discussion than what we want to have here. But I would say that start with inexpensive Udemy cybersecurity courses and exam books for certifications to at least give you an idea of how to build a lab. You can also start with a lot of like CTFs, try hack me and things like that to get that technical knowledge. And then of course, red versus blue to learn the strategy. I gotta throw that out there. Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, so any thoughts, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, that's I mean, if you're starting from zero, I think that's a great like pathway. Certain certifications, like I like the OSCP. It's very technical and hands-on, but like you need like a foundation to build on before you can really get the value of that certification. So like just like you were saying, like the Network Plus, Security Plus, like CISSP, that stuff, just to like get familiar with the industry as a whole, all the concepts, and then the technology that everything's built on top of. Because that's, I mean, what hackers are doing is they're exploiting flaws in the technology or the configuration of the technology. So you got to understand it at least as well as they do.
Yep. Cool. So we're gonna move on with our red versus blue journey here, because we got some special guests lining up in the green room. So fast forward. So we what would eventually become ThreatGEN. It started as we were using video game engines, Unity, to develop these 3D environments of industrial process environments, and to simulate that, so we can have we can illustrate the cyber physical consequences through cyber attacks. And so fast forward to, that was about 2013 or so, and fast forward to about 2017, I actually started the ThreatGEN company. It was originally called PhysicsGen, because we were creating cyber physical models, and we were simulating physics. So we called it PhysicsGen. And then once we added the threat part, the cybersecurity part, then we called it ThreatGEN. And so we originally founded the company called DRESD, and Matt Anderson and I first started the company. The actual, back then it was an LLC, and it was called DRESD because we're Tron fans, and we had a lot of goals. But it was funny, but nobody, if you weren't a Tron fan, you didn't know what DRESD was. People were pronouncing it DRESD, and we had these cool shirts, DRESD development, or DRESD, and Matt came up with the slogan, building cooler worlds. It was a spin-off of the Alien, building better worlds. And we were in Vegas at Black Hat or DEF CON, and this guy was looking at our shirt, and they were blue, and they had the cool, it was kind of Tron looking, and he looks at it and he goes, building cooler worlds. He goes, you guys work for an air conditioning company? And I'm like, okay, that's it. This name isn't working. So I took a book out of, I used to work for Industrial Defender. Industrial Defender was originally called Verano, and then they renamed their company to the product, which is Industrial Defender. And I was like, let's do that. So we DBA'd our company to ThreatGEN. And we worked on the 3D stuff and going all the conferences. And you know, at the time it was a good concept, but there's no use case until we were at Houston Security Conference, HughesecCon, and one of the founders, Michael Farnham, you know, because I'd been teaching some ISIS cybersecurity courses previously, and he comes to me and he says, "Hey, you know, can you do a red team versus blue team course?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, can you do it in one day?" And I'm like, and I kind of like had this cold, oh crap moment going through me, and I'm like, how am I going to do a red team versus blue team class in one day? And I did something similar the year before, and I kind of felt like it just didn't go very well. So, but for the story, you know what? Let's go ahead and bring on that person, Michael Farnham. And there he is. How you doing, Michael?
Good, Clint. How are you, man?
Really good, really good. So
What's
yeah,
up,
I
Aaron?
mean,
Hey.
oh, sorry, yeah. Sorry, hello.
I
Yes.
know. I'll say hey to Aaron too. You know.
Yeah.
Happy Harry Potter Christmas. By the way.
Oh yeah. Nice. So yeah, your timing was perfect. You joined our green room right at the part of the story we're talking about. I mean, really kind of the impetus, you know, just you know, yeah, so you wanted to have that red team versus blue team, and that's when I was like, you know, because we did it the year before, and it was okay. You know, we had that ISA kit there, and you know, I guess, you know, it just, how much red team blue team can you actually do in one day, right? Because I mean, INL could barely do it in 5 days with any success.
I do remember. I remember the cringe moment. Like, can I get this done in a day? Because that's all we had was one day for the trainings back then. But it was from what I remember very successful. People really enjoyed the class. Got great feedback from it. So I think, how many did we do it? One more time?
I know we only did the actual, so we did the red team versus, well, so we did the non-red versus blue, the non-ThreatGEN one, the year prior. And so then, right. so then what happened? So where this all started was you know, I'd worked for Kaspersky in the past, and they had this board game called KIPS, Kaspersky Industrial Protection Simulator, I believe it is. And so, and I kind of thought, but it was, you know, it was a card game, it was a board game, and it used cards, and it was only blue team. And it, you know, I thought, well, we're kind of working on, we're working on the video game stuff. And I was at the time, I was working on trading card games as a video game and trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this? And so I was like, well, why don't we do a video game version of something like KIPS, but make it the red side as well? So I went to Aaron and I said, hey, I have an idea. And now he's learned Kaspersky Interactive Protection Simulation. Thank you, Robert. So he's learned now. Anytime I say, hey, I have an idea, he's like, ugh. But
Yeah.
so I said, Aaron, you know, I want to design this game, and I told him about, you know, red team versus blue team strategy, because I thought keeping it a strategic level would be better than trying to, you know, basically essentially teaching people parlor tricks, you know, for hacking parlor tricks. I want to do this game and everything like that. And then he's like, oh, you know, when do you want this done by? And then when I told him that we need to have it done in 8 weeks,
yeah,
Aaron,
which is still insane. It's still insane. Like, I'm looking at it like, you can't just go from, hey, it would be cool if we made a game, to we need to ship in 8 weeks. That doesn't normally happen. The fact that we pulled it off is amazing. So
it was a HughesecCon miracle.
Yeah.
Saturnalian miracle. Yeah. And by the way, I get your naming issues, because if you remember when I came out with HughesecCon, everybody thought in the beginning that it was HouseCon, and I was getting real estate agents wanting to attend the conference. And I was like, no, let me figure out how to break this up so it doesn't look like HouseCon.
I still keep thinking of Jeff Dunham, you know, Peanut, HouseCon.
HouseCon, yeah.
So
yeah, no, I remember that first year and doing that. I remember you the year before that you had I mean that's actually how we met, was because you came and spoke at HUSECCon in 20, I remember it was 2012.
yeah, we broke. It was when I was at Cymation,
And you had
and we
the
broke our
original
demo.
Yeah, the demo broke as you were trying to get it in the back door.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
huge freaking like vat of water or whatever.
That
it
thing
is
was
that you guys have.
monster, man. Yeah, I remember that thing. That was, but it was kind of
Yep.
the pre, because you guys were doing that before we had the
Yeah,
ICS Village and like the Dragos lab that was there last year and everything.
yeah.
else.
And then I volunteered to do. I did.
Audio visual. So.
Yep. Hey, James Cabe's in the audience. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, James.
And so yeah, so we literally built, we'll call it an alpha is what it was. You know what? I believe I have here, let me we built it in 8 weeks and ran the class. And you know, we had a lot of, you know, Art Conklin was in there, and you know, Jeremy who's currently with Dragos now, and we had a lot of people in there that are friends of the community now, and they said, you know, you should just make this the class. And then Art, I wish he was here today. Art was instrumental in having the University of Houston beta test this. But you know, Aaron, you want to talk a little bit about some of the development challenges? I'm gonna look here. I'm gonna go find. I have some old pictures here of some of the original version.
I mean, well, it was all challenges, right? So like neither of us really knew the engine. So Unity uses C#. Like I had been, you know, a long time C++ developer and kind of moved into like PHP, but I had never done C#. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to learn this language and this engine and make a game in 8 weeks. So yeah, there were some challenges to get over, and you know, it was you know, I was doing this on the side, right? Like I still had my main job that I was doing and doing this as well. So that was like my evenings for 2 months. Man, like what did yeah, it was just like trying to figure out, okay, like how do we model this 2-player asymmetric you know, turn-based cybersecurity strategy game, and you know, I mean, just like any other software project, like where you think you're going is not necessarily where you are going, and so you're trying to follow this point, but the point keeps moving, but you know, you've got this code base that's like, you know, got the history. We still have stuff in there today where I look at it, I'm like, oof, that is old code that I wish did not exist anymore.
Legacy, man, you gotta have that backward support. You know, Microsoft is a king at that. So
it's rough, but at least I get to sorry, getting calls here. Oh yeah.
So yeah, this was like the original back in the day. So you have you know, if you can see here, we had the actual character, a little cartoon character up there, because we're going to have like avatars and stuff. But here's the card. See, I mean, before you selecting all of your actions, literally you would go through cards, and you use these buttons to scroll through all the cards. And as we added more actions, it became really cumbersome. All of a sudden, you had to scroll through everything. But you know, it's a card game and a board game put together. But man, it was like, and you have. See, they were little cartoon characters there, but this was our action log, man. That was the original action log. But yeah, this was prior to version 1.4, which is 1.4 was what we released on Steam. So, and you had that was back in the day. That's what it was. And a lot of it hasn't changed too much. But that was the original look at it right there.
The things that I absolutely loved were the movie quotes and that kind of stuff that were in there.
Oh yeah, we spent a lot of time on the quotes. Like we would like, you know, me, Clint, and Matt just like having like brainstorming sessions. So like, okay, it's like, what's a good one for this? You know, what's a good one for this? It's like trying to make everything sort of like you know, relevant to the situation at hand. And you know, of course, you get, you know, like if you see, Star Wars stuff, that's probably Clint or Matt coming up with it. And if you see like, Fight Club or Office Space, like that's probably me.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, that's one of the things that we did, and we took a lot of reference. The game was originally developed to be sort of a kind of a civilization style, risk style, but we took a flavor text. We kind of got all that from like Magic the Gathering and just other games. We had flavor text, but I just wanted to do that to add some fun to it, to where everything had some sort of a movie quote or something. And yeah, we spent hours on just going through. We'd have meetings where we did nothing but for hours, would just brainstorm, and then we found movie quote database, and we're like, oh,
well, here we go. This is it.
Yeah. So so at the end of the day, Michael, you were instrumental. I mean, you kind of really, you coming to us and saying, hey, I want to do red versus blue again in a day, but me saying I want to do it better than what we did it last year. I mean, that was it. I mean, without that moment, and without trying to find a way to do this at HughesCon, it would have never happened, right? And that was in 2018. It was in 2018, and
seems further back than that.
Yeah, no, it was 2018 because I've still got to
that had to be earlier, Clint.
Well, it's 20. Well,
I think that's when we started the game. Yeah.
Yeah, 2018.
2017. We were still doing the physics simulation.
It feels like barely 2 years before. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the reason why I know it's 2018 is because I can go back and look at all of the original creation dates of the design files and stuff like that, and they're 2018.
You should know that.
Yeah,
absolutely. It just seems like so. It literally seems like it was like 2013, 2014 or something. It's just,
yeah. And so. Yeah, and then we did it again, but we had the classes at HughesCon, but HughesCon was the catalyst for it all, and we've continued to be a friend of HughesCon, and HughesCon being a friend to us, and us all being here, in Houston and everything like that, and so
you've been there every year since you started it in some way, either in the village or some innovation area or something where people can get access to it and play. So no, the partnership's great. I'm really excited to be a part of this getting and continue to grow and grow and grow beyond that. But you guys will always have a presence at HughesCon every year. I mean, that's just
well, and I think another thing too is what speaks volumes is not only ever since then, that was before you were affiliated with ThreatGEN, and then this is public knowledge, it's on the LinkedIn. Now you're a board member of ThreatGEN now.
Yep, and that's been a lot of fun. It's been very interesting. It's honestly my first board spot that I've had, and it's been really cool being a part of that, and I appreciate that too, and watching you guys grow and move and getting all the updates and having meetings at the Mexican restaurant down by your house, or the one at the API conference or something like that. So those have always been a lot of fun. So I'm proud. It's one of the things that I'm proud of, is being a part of the whole movement y'all put forward. So.
Well, thanks. Like I said, you were instrumental. We got a question here. I'll keep you on here for a couple minutes, Michael. Yep. So we got a question here. So someone asked, what's your favorite part of ThreatGEN, and where did you want to take it? I think that's a really excellent question. And so I'll tell you, my favorite part of ThreatGEN is, and I've owned businesses before, and I have, I failed, I've succeeded, and my favorite part of ThreatGEN, I think, is seeing not just something that I built succeed after having failures, but I think seeing it create a community that's it's amazing to see this the community has grown on Discord, and to see something that you've create a community surrounding this thing that we created, and making a difference in people's lives, right? I have people come up to me at HughesCon and other conferences and say, this really helped me through my college class. This really helped illustrate the concepts that I'm learning. This, I really love it. And seeing it on LinkedIn, right? There's this community is growing beyond just my first level of network, right? There's people out there I see posting on YouTube and LinkedIn and everywhere, just talking about there's conversations going on about ThreatGEN. It's grown. Like, people know about the game. You go to conferences and people know about Red versus Blue. They know about it, right? So I guess the fact that this community has been created around it and it's making a difference. That's my favorite thing. And that's honestly that answers the second part of the question. That's exactly where I wanted to take it. I wanted this thing to grow into something that was a common thing in the industry, and it actually did what it's meant to do: make a difference in people's lives. So I'll pass that to Aaron.
Yeah. Well, see, for me, so it's like, as the programmer, like, my head is down, like, working on the simulation. Like, how can I represent reality as best I can in the code. And so, like, I'm heads down on that a lot. And so, like, when I see like when Jerry does streams and and he's like articulating the real world relevance of like what's happening in the game, and it's like these little sort of emergent interactions between these systemic elements that we've made, and like and it kind of like brings me joy. And I was like, I see like, oh, like the thing that I was trying to do is working. It's like, like we wanted it to represent real security, and then here you got like this PhD explaining how it does that. Like,
the validation, right? That's the main thing, right? We wanted this to not just be a game. We wanted it to represent real security. We had to, because it was going to teach people cybersecurity or help them learn.
Yeah, we don't want to teach them wrong. That's not. It's not funny when it's the career.
Yeah. So Simon, had popped up another question from another member of the audience. To use a modern phrase, has it exceeded your expectations? Considering I failed at so many businesses prior, I'd have to say yes. I mean, the fact that we're still in business and 4 years later, yes, has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, I don't. Well, so Clint, if you remember, so that first day when we were like, it would be cool, we had a game, and then we talked about all the things that the game could be. And then, just getting smacked with reality, being like, okay, we're gonna have to like
cut it in half
like a few times, and then like, this is what we actually have.
Yeah.
And then like over the years, like it kind of grew to encompass a lot of what we discussed in that first discussion, and then like also other things. It's like we get feedback from the community. People are saying like, oh, like what would be cool is if this, and I'm like, what, that would be cool, and let's put it in, and so in some ways it's not quite where we wanted it. In other ways, it's well beyond what we had envisioned for it. So it's.
I mean, I think some of the stuff that you've talked about where it can help enterprise levels is, I think, beyond. And I wasn't part of all the initial discussions, obviously, as you guys were, but I think it's beyond where some of what when you originally pitched some of this stuff to me is beyond that, right? It's gone further. There's a whole lot of let's help and instruct people, and that's all been very successful. But being able to, it's a whole nother level of being able to put this into a team and an enterprise team and help them learn stuff from it, especially if you got people who are already educated in a lot of ways in cyber concepts, and then be able to focus them in and help them learn things and get stuff out of it that they didn't know before. To me, that's a success in and of itself. And by the way, I love seeing the difference in how you guys look at it. Clint is like, oh, we built this community, and Aaron's like, I'm just happy my freaking code works, man. It's really fun to see those two guys looking at it. So
yeah, and I think ultimately, I'm kind of the dreamer. I can code, but I'm not a software engineer. Aaron's a software engineer. And in the beginning days, we both wrote code, right? I mean, it was a time where I was writing more code than Aaron because he had a job. and then he had to come back and fix it all. And so, I think that, we complement each other well. Like, Aaron is so much a realist to where, if it was just him, he would still be working on, alpha, and he's reluctant to push things out or ship because he wants it to work right and ship right. And he's a realist when it comes to, what we can and can't do. And I think I push his boundaries, right? He tempers me and I push his boundaries, because then I come in and I say, you know what? I have this idea, let's do this and let's do this and let's do this. And, I come up with all these ideas, and Aaron comes up with ideas too. And then we talk about it, we bounce things off each other. But I think, I dream bigger than Aaron, and Aaron keeps that in perspective. And then,
that sounds like a perfect relationship, honestly, to work off of each other and tamper your expectations down a little bit.
And we've worked like that our entire career, and in other ventures like that. I think that's why, since 2007 is when we met. Since that's why we have continued to work together and do things. And, we have similar interests, and he's the engineer, I'm the dreamer, and we just work, so.
It's good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, we have a couple more questions here, and then I want to get to some of our other guests. But Michael, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Like I said, I mean, you were there to help us start it all. And we're here because of you and HuSecOn. So thank you very much.
Well, it's not, it's happened because of y'all's effort and your hard work and put in it. And I appreciate it. Looking forward to doing more stuff with you guys. Thank y'all.
Thank you. And take care.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Another question. Brett asked, any update on the SGC map? Yeah, sorry, Brett. I know I've got so busy, I haven't had a chance to do it. I want to do it. I want to do these special maps. I haven't gotten to do hardly any special maps. We're doing a special one for next week's stream, though, a little bit kind of special. I mean, and it's not that different, but it's gonna be special for the Hack Santa's workshop thing. But Brett, I promise. I know I've already promised and broke that once, but our focus for 2023 is content. We're going to make a lot of content for 2023, and that's going to be some new maps, and I'm going to put the SGC map out there. So, and some other things. So, we have another question. When did Red versus Blue stop being exclusively a sim and grow game elements? That's easy to answer. It was just a sim when it was the 3D stuff and simulating the industrial process, cyber physical stuff. We didn't add the game elements into it until we made the Red versus Blue piece of it. It was a simulation, 3D simulation. But once Michael came to us and said, "Can you do a Red versus Blue class, or Red Team versus Blue Team class?" That's when it became. That's when we started putting the gamification into it, I think.
Yeah, what you see as Red versus Blue, it kind of like was always a game. But like as a company, like our focus was on like simulation.
Yeah.
And then like we were talking to real world PLCs and getting things to happen in the game, and then this concept of I say the game, but like the game engine, but then this idea of like a board game, card game thing came up. We're like, all right, well, we've been playing games for years. We are fairly analytical. Let's see if we can make it game-like, but also realistic in the cybersecurity dimension. And so it was kind of designed to be a gamey from the beginning, and it's the gaminess of it has fluctuated over time, and as our design pillars kind of manifested, we decided, okay, we're gonna if we have to choose between realism and gaminess, we're gonna go with realism. So it's I still classify it as a game, but there are definitely things in there that I guess a traditional gamer would feel like this is unfair, but like, no, actually games are helping you far too much. This is real life, but
real life sucks. Going back to something you said earlier, you said, we had to keep chopping it in half, and I think that came from David Whaley too. I think, I believe that, he created the first tree as an indie developer, and I'm glad I did not go through those game development courses prior to creating Red versus Blue, or I think, I think we probably would have cut it too much, but we did not use good common game development wisdom when we developed the alpha. But what's interesting is that we go back to our original design documents, and you see all this stuff that we had on there, right? We had to cut all the actions, and you look at Red versus Blue today, and not only does it now have everything that was in our original design documents, it's exceeded that. So, I want to talk a little bit real quick about going from development into turning this into a company, right? Because I failed several businesses prior to ThreatGEN, and I can still fail this one too if you want me to, but I can try, but all my investors are going to come on now. I'm not good at running a business. I had to have somebody come in to help me build that. I'm a dreamer, and I'm an innovator, but my strength is not building a business. So let's bring on our next guest, who is usually always behind the scenes. The man who actually came in and helped me turn ThreatGEN into a real business. Let's bring in our acting CFO and head of sales, Robert Rhodes.
Wait a minute. It's a real business?
Well, So, Robert, hey, this is the first time I believe that you've actually come on a live stream.
It is. I've always been behind the camera, usually doing comments and whatnot.
Yep. So we brought you in originally as a contractor to help us with our financing, and fundraising and stuff like that. And you've just become so integral to that money part, right? I mean, you helped us structure the business to be a real business, because before that, I didn't know anything about structuring, but I knew how to set up an LLC or set up an S corp, sort of, really, because I haven't screwed that up at first. But to really get set up to bring on investors and to really make this a big boy company, right? You helped us do that, and that's when you became our acting CFO. Came on full time with us around 2021, I guess. You came on full time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and then became head of sales. I like your story you tell about how we said, well, now we need to sell this stuff. Yeah, thanks. James said in the audience, you guys sell something? Yeah. So thanks.
The story I always use is we're sitting around and I'm looking at the financials and I say, hey guys, we need to sell something or we're going to go out of business. And you said, you're it, and ran off giggling. You're head of sales. So
yeah. So and while we're on this, let's just go ahead and bring in so we have our recent sales guy too, who most of the community knows and loves, or at least knows. Let's bring on Simon too real quick. So
always a pleasant intro from you, Clint, every time.
So Simon comes to us. He founded the InfoSec Live app and community and all of that. And Jerry actually introduced. Jerry's not available for us today, but Gerald Ogier introduced us, and it's all been downhill since there.
It has. I mean, look, going back to something you said earlier. I mean, firstly, thanks for inviting me on. But you talked about failing at business, and I've succeeded and I've failed at business, and I think you learn more from those failures, Clint, than you do from any of the successes, in my opinion. And for me to come into this industry, I think it's 19 months ago now, from 25 years in, regulated financial services, that the reason I've become so passionate about ThreatGEN is I think my journey, I tried to come in, Aaron mentioned it earlier, through passing OSCP, but without the bit Aaron mentioned, which is understanding how all the other bits work underneath before you do that. And I
impressive.
took that far too big a step, right? And where this game has helped me massively over the last 9-10 months is understanding where all the pieces fit together. And I love Hack the Box. It's what got me interested in becoming a pen tester in the first place. Try Hack Me is brilliant, but neither of those give you that overview of where everything sits. And that's what I love and why I'm so passionate about it.
Well, and thanks for coming on, by the way, and thanks for all of that. I think that one of the cool things about our everyone that works for ThreatGEN that's not an original, I guess, founder. Everybody is here and works with us. We're originally customers first, right? I mean, like, Jerry was a customer first doing a stream. You were first, a customer. Okay, Robert, but Robert was on ground floor, right? But our beta tester, Greg, or SQA, he was in the community, and he runs the community now and on Discord, and he started out there, right? And he was a community beta tester. So I think that it's a testament to what we've created, going back to the community and everything like that. But we're building not only a workforce of our staff comes from our customers, right? And so this is literally customer driven from ground up. I mean, since day one. And so Greg, if you're listening, you feel. I guess I would have to. Greg, if you want to come on, let me know in chat. We'll bring you on to say hi too. But it's kind of neat to kind of bring everybody that's kind of been part of. There's so many people also on back, investors and board members, advisors and other beta testers. I mean, David E. and Alex Goodwin are two community beta testers that have been instrumental in helping the community and helping the game development. And so
I'd like to give a shout out actually to Alex quickly, because he's spent hours with me trying to help me to help me improve my game. So thank you, Alex.
Yeah, Alex has been great, and David E. Both of those guys in helping us find bugs and just help grow the community. And yeah. Let me real quick. We're gonna bring in Greg, our SQA guy, to tell his story a little bit as well. I'm gonna give you the link there, Greg. He doesn't have a webcam on, but that's okay. Nobody wants to see Greg's face. I think over the past 3 or 4 years, we've done so much with so little. We were working with Texas A&M and had a PhD in there. Who actually she wrote Susan, forgot her last name, Dr. Susan Peterson. So many Petersons around this community. Anyway, she literally, like, back in the 70s or 80s, wrote papers on the effects of gamification and gamified learning. So Dr. Peterson and Dr. Ben Mai from Texas A&M University, talking to all them. And when we were demoing them, we're actually doing a study with them on the effects of gamification and cybersecurity. And when we showed them what we're doing, they were so surprised that what we've created with ThreatGEN was literally 2 developers, 2 coders, doing all of this. And I think that that's a testament to, I mean, Aaron is probably best software engineer I've ever known in person. And so, I think, but we've created this. It's insane how deceptively complex Red versus Blue is. It seems like the simple game, but the back end, the engine to make it work like real life cybersecurity, and to get a computer AI to actually play against you, which, man, it's what we've done is insane. So let's bring on Greg real quick, man. We're having all these people here. It's awesome. We're just loading up the guest book here.
Hey, hello.
What's up, Greg?
Greg, the SQA analyst for ThreatGEN. I have been working here since like 9 months or something like that, right? And been a beta tester for 1.5 years before that, something along those lines, maybe 2.
Yeah, you started in the Discord community. I mean, you were there since like version 1.4 or originally Red versus Blue when it first came out, right? And then, you were just so prolific in that community and always you amazed us with how good you could, test the game and how thorough you were. And then we hired you. You're out of Poland.
Yeah, basically. Overall, I think it is important to understand that. Well, my story is a bit different, but yeah, I've essentially started around 1.4. Well, I just love ThreatGEN and I love all of you guys.
That's a lot of
I gotta say, because prior to Greg coming on, like I would have two modes, right? Like I have development mode, and like okay, all these features are locked. Now I have to switch into testing mode and like try to fix all the stuff that I just made poorly, and so that had a kind of a slow iteration process. Like literally, like as soon as we brought Greg on, like I could stay on development mode and then he's over here finding bugs and then I'm just like fixing them as I go. And so like it increased my development speeds incredibly. So like he just having him around, just sped things up just tremendously. So I'm thankful that he's here.
Yeah. Overall, well, I am both the SQA analyst and actually Discord community manager. We have a Discord community. Do you have like a link to Discord somewhere?
Yeah, we do. Let me go grab it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, overall, I'm really good at testing, but that's because I'm like internally curious about stuff, right? I can try to. Well, I am just clever and like breaking things. Really, I am sort of a tester, but in like feature development, sort of. Ha 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 ha. As a little and we have like the Discord link, but I believe never mind. Yeah, we have I am from Poland, of course. We will have a Polish version coming out, right? Because Robert wanted me to mention that. Probably soon, somewhere, maybe probably as a pro only feature, because we have languages in the pro version. If you want to play the game in other languages, you can. They're available, I think, right?
I think that's really cool to mention, right? Yeah. So in the pro version of the game, that I think that's talk about exceeding expectations, right? The game has been localized in Japanese, in Turkish. It's going to be localized in Polish and in
English.
Oh, yeah.
Localized in English.
Queen's English. It's going to be localized into Queen's English and Danish. It's about to be localized in Danish as well. So you know what? That's an interesting conversation, and we might actually go a little past a full hour here because I got to talk about this. Oh man. One of my brilliant ideas was whenever I told a customer, it's like, yeah, we can localize. I did some research. I found some Unity assets, and I was like, you know what? It's not that difficult to add in a localization asset, and then just start kind of doing the translation and all that, and then like, yeah, we can do it, and without properly conferring with Aaron, and then I started talking to him about it, and I said, well, hey, there's some assets we can use and all that. Localization has up until this point, and I have to mention, the Japanese localization was our customer Tomomi, and I forgot her. Their last name is Tomomi, and their last name is I'm bad with people's last names, but Nitec, the company Nitec, and the Nagoya Institute of Technology out of Japan, they were instrumental in getting the localization done. But Aaron, talk about your love of the localization engine.
Oh my gosh! So, and it was funny because I remember very, very early on, like it might have even been that first day of bringing up the idea of like, hey, like, are we going to localize this into other languages? And at the time you said, let's not worry about it, we'll worry about it when we get there. Well, then we did get there, And your thought was like, oh yeah, this won't be hard. We've got these assets that'll automatically convert things for us. Well, it turns out because of the way we designed the game that wouldn't work. And so I had to design an entire localization system that would pull the text from different places based on what the language was set to, and that feature actually drove a huge refactoring of the underlying code base that took me weeks of just let me just branch off the code and just heads down for nights and weekends, okay, let's get it working, and then finally, okay, we can have a Japanese version. It was way more effort than anticipated. Well, way more effort than Clint anticipated.
Yeah, exactly.
It was about right for what I anticipated.
Yeah.
But I also sold it twice after you said that you could do it.
Yeah, I think here's the
Yeah.
but now it's really, I mean, he developed this system now to where we can have customers that want localization that can manage it and localize it. Now they can log into the localization manager and enter and do it themselves now. So now basically anybody who wants to localize and be responsible for that localization for that language, they can now do it themselves. We no longer have to do the localization. We don't have to do sending spreadsheets. Yeah. We don't have to send CSV files to people and doing all this uploading. It's all people, we can now have a localization manager responsible for doing it, and then it's done. It was brilliant. It was awesome. So, Greg, we're going to say bye to you real quick. Any final words?
Working at ThreatGEN is amazing. I like it and would recommend it to a friend.
All right, thanks for coming on, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
See you later.
All right, the localization system was amazing. Now, and so let's real quick before we end our stream, let's talk about some things that we have moving forward. So another thing that's been interesting and fun has been the AI. So originally the AI, the computer AI, was just Aaron just hard coded in, okay, I'm gonna have it do this, but obviously not good for dynamic play. So then Aaron designed a dynamic computer AI that can actually make decisions based off the current game state. So that was Aaron. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I mean, yeah, it was. It doesn't follow any particular model that you would see if you were read it in a game AI book. You would be oh, this is that. I just kind of came up with a thing that it was a little convoluted, but it did the job of just sort of hey, let's dynamically prioritize the actions based on the game state, and that worked okay for a while, and then
it worked so well. It actually worked really well, because until you had people like Alex and David coming in analyzing the game's AI that were able actually to pick out the patterns. I mean, you had people. Greg originally thought that we had this thing training. The people thought that the AI was adaptive and
it's a little adaptive,
I mean, we had people anthropomorphizing it, right? I mean,
it's that's
giving it its
part.
own story. People would give the AI, Greg, and it was like, oh, I think the AI noticed this, and it's doing this and this and this, and I mean, and so people were literally, coming up with their own stories for the AI, and it's funny how people would explain why the AI was doing what it was, and however now. That's going to actually start to maybe become a possibility.
Yeah. So for I think since version 1.6, 1.7, we've been saying, okay, the new AI is coming. We're gonna revamp it, and then for 1.11 we started revamping it, and it was starting to do okay. It had additional layers of complexity over the old one, and then in my wisdom, I guess, ? I decided to add some more realism into the game, particularly how like the staffing costs and certain aspects of that, and turns out that really confused the heck out of the AI, and it just blew up in my face. I'm like, so I'm looking at this mechanic and like, well, this is a good mechanic to go in, because like I said before, like when we're comparing gaminess to realism, we choose realism. Well, okay, this is a realistic mechanic, but it's causing all these problems. And so I was like, I can't keep tweaking all of these individual parameters. So I'm casually interested in machine learning. So I thought, okay, how can I get the code to do my job, right? And so I programmed in a model, and now I have it using genetic algorithms to basically choose the current best specimen per generation, and it's training now as we speak. It's been training for a couple of weeks. It's getting better. Still a little dumb, but it's getting better.
Well, what's amazing is that, like what you're talking about, is that we have hundreds of parameters that have to be tweaked, because what we're ultimately doing is we're making this to where we want to make the AI to where we can build tabletop exercises based on current trends, TTPs, and threats, and to give it different profiles. In order to do that, we need a way to tweak it. And so we're going to come up with these common list of trends or behaviors that we can use slider bars or whatever to tweak to make it act like a current TTP, so that we can very rapidly release new scenarios as new threats emerge. Well, it's not feasible with hundreds of parameters. And so in order to baseline those parameters, so in order to get a slider bar to move the other hundreds of parameters the way that it needs to do to act like that slider bar is supposed to tell it to act, that's what Aaron's doing. Aaron is using machine learning agents to figure out what those settings have to be for each of the behavior settings, so that we can actually but there's a byproduct to this is that you have a machine learning agents, and we have this AI that can learn to be adaptive. One of the things that Aaron has creatively and mischievously come up with is, like, you can take models of players' behaviors like Alex or Jerry or myself and model that, and then have an AI literally replicate similar behavior as any of our players. So like if I want to say, I want this bot to act like Alex, we can take Alex player history and model the AI a profile after that. I mean, that's still down the road, but it's possible. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's totally possible. So
yeah,
but that is coming.
Yeah, so that's where we're going with the AI. And so I think it's what's kind of cool is we literally I don't think there's anybody else in the industry, in the market, that not only has an adaptive AI for the red team, but also has an adaptive AI for the blue team, so that you have an adaptive AI playing against you if you want to be the red team. And I mean, this is like, we never anticipated this is something that we would have when we were creating this alpha game in 8 weeks for HuSecCon. We never imagined that we were going to start having an adaptive AI. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think, we are kind of coming to the end of our broadcast here and the end of our stream. Before we let the two sales guys go, I mean, Simon, any thoughts before we get rid of you, before we boot you? Hammer.
I have actually. And obviously, being a salesperson, the first thing I'm going to say is, if you are interested in finding out more about the platform and how it can help your organization, please reach out to me so we can have a discussion. But I'm so excited about 2023 for a couple of reasons. One, the fact that we're working with the UK education sector, bringing cybersecurity learning or gamification in cybersecurity learning to mainstream education for 16 years plus in the UK. Please make sure you watch out for that. There should be lots in the press about that soon. And also changing the game for businesses who are bored of their same old dreary tabletop exercises, working with a few new clients at the moment, bringing ThreatGEN into that. So if you're interested, want to find out more, please reach out to me, and thank you for having me on your amazing team.
Thanks for being here. We've enjoyed having you, and I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Robert, you have any final thoughts?
After
Jerry
Simon,
Springer.
after Simon, nothing needs to be said except bring up the Hackin' Holiday promotion.
Yep. So we're posting it up there on your screen. We currently have a promotion going on. Use code ThreatGEN Holiday at checkout to get 40% off. Right now, the code is for businesses, tabletop exercises, and business licenses. Starting on the 17th, we will have the individual pro licenses available. The promotion starting then, and then businesses and tabletops end. So if you're a business, you want a 40% discount, you want tabletop exercises, 40% discount, get that in before the 17th. And then on the 17th, if you're an individual, you'll get 40% off using ThreatGEN Holiday at checkout.
And there you go. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I just say, everybody, we need to see who's behind the scenes. I'm glad you came on the stream. And take care, and I'm sure you'll be bugging me later today. All right, thanks, Robert. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yep. So, Aaron, any final? I mean, it's been a wild ride, not to be confused with Greg's wild ride. But I think that this is the culmination of our journey and our entire time working together and fighting against each other. Since 2007. It's interesting that between our common interests of cybersecurity, video game development, and all this, and how our minds work so differently. They said before, we're a good partnership in the way that we work together. And I think this is just the culmination of our kind of our history, right? Everything in your kind of path, my path, our interests, it all led up to this. And it's kind of neat just to see kind of the aggregation of me personally. You're a musician, I'm a musician. Everything that I've done, all my skills in my career, I have an art degree, right? I'm a musician, so I do art, I do music, I write code, I do cybersecurity. It's funny because I would not be able to do in any other career. I wouldn't be able to take all my interests, hobbies, and skills and put them together in one thing. And video game development does that for me. And especially what with ThreatGEN Red versus Blue, then takes the hacking, and puts that into it, right? And by the way, one thing I didn't mention was Aaron is also, I drug him into the book too. Aaron is also a co-author of our book, Hacking Exposed Industrial Control Systems. I drug him in on that too, and he hated that as well. So yeah, I've literally drug you into every single venture that I have ever had since I met you. And you're still here, so you're a glutton for punishment or something. But but that's all I'm going to say is that I just think it's really neat how, video game and specifically Red versus Blue has been able to take everything I've enjoyed in my life and put it in. And that's what I do now every day. I'm literally, with the exception of the finance and business side that I'm not really a fan of, what you have to do in business. But, being, Red versus Blue literally allows me to do every single day, everything, at some point, there's a piece of every hobby, everything I enjoy doing, I get to do in my day job, So.
Yeah. I mean, coming from regular software development, as a web developer, I got to a point where I was just like, if I have to query the database and write a for loop to iterate over another row, I'm going to kill myself. And so, video games are just there's a new creative problem to solve every day, and that's all I wanted. I just wanted to work on cool problems, and video games present all sorts of them. And then as far as ThreatGEN goes, it's become more than we originally envisioned, and as we've been thinking about it and kind of stewing on how can we make this better, I can say that the ideas that we have for where we could take it has grown faster than the actual game itself. So there's I mean, just the feedback from the community kind of guides where that where that happens, but like there's so much more room for what we can do with the platform. So it's just exciting to think about where we're going to end up.
Yeah, there's just so much meat on this bone. There's just so much on the roadmap still that we have to do. I'm really excited. Like, there's no signs of slowing. You know, we've got this could still go so far, and in 2023 is going to be exciting. So
Yeah,
I think that's where I'll leave it.
Yep.
So everybody, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your questions, and I hope you enjoyed this. This is like, again, this was a special, just kind of like, let's just talk about where we've come from and meet some of the people that were instrumental in the success, get a chance to meet the developers and hang out. So thank everybody for being here. And I hope everybody has a happy holiday. And with that, you know, I thank everybody. I'm looking. Sorry, I'm losing my graphics here. So anyway, yeah, I lost my controls. Live streaming is great. I lost my controls. So anyway, all right, everybody, thanks for hanging out. Take care, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.